Today we will learn about London's insane 76 billion plan for a floating airport. Why you need a float why you need a floating airport is beyond me, but
London's airports are in crisis. Heathrow, the busiest of them all, has been stretched to its limit for nearly 20 years. Boris Johnson had a radical
Jesus.
solution. Forget expanding the old and build something entirely new. A $76 billion state of the art airport in the River Thames. The only issues? Foggy weather, flocks of stubborn birds, and a sunken World War II warship packed with explosives.
World War II was what, how many years ago? 70 years ago? I'm not searching it up. But y'all need to get on that. Why it's still there? Why there's still explosives in your ocean? Gee, it just takes one shark to touch it and then boom.
Hey, I'm your host Regis, and today we're uncovering a project that could have reshaped British aviation if it ever left the drawing board. So, why does London need a new airport in the first place?
I was just thinking that, huh?
Well, to understand that, we need to look at its existing aviation network. The United Kingdom's capital is the world's busiest airline market, serving thousands of flights daily across 6 international airports. Whether it's a downtown location, like London City Airport, or a focus on European flights, like Stansted Airport, each has a unique role connecting London to the rest of the world. But Heathrow is the biggest and the most well-known.
I didn't know about it. I've been to London one time, and that was probably one of the worst trips I've ever been on because I was a kid and I was crying the whole time. I was like, hey, I wanted to go back home so badly. I don't even know why.
Heathrow's story begins in 1930, when British engineer Richard Ferry bought a 150-acre plot for about $73,000 in the
Damn.
village of Harmondsworth. It started as a simple grass runway for testing aircraft and was used as an RAF base during World War II. Then it launched its first civilian flight in 1946, a converted.
Who was on this flight? Who in their right mind? Civilian. So we're assuming people who, let's say, have just enough money to travel. Why would you go on the first one? They can say, "Oh, it's tested and whatnot." But if you're the first civilian flight, I'm automatically assuming I'm not gonna make it. Why? It's flight. The first flight. Not even birds fly right the first time. So yeah, I'm just assuming I'm gonna get packed.
Bomber that took 35 hours to reach Buenos Aires. From there, the airport grew quickly with the boom in commercial aviation. And by 1961, all those military tents had been replaced by modern terminals. These days, Heathrow connects over 200 destinations across 84 countries, handles 80 million passengers every year, and is the UK's largest port by value. More than 40% of Britain's non-European Union exports flow through its terminals, so you can see how it's pretty vital to the nation's economy. The trouble is, the airport faces a serious problem. For almost 2 decades, its 2 runways have been operating at full capacity, leaving it with almost no room to handle delays, bad weather, or growing passenger demand. And the situation is becoming more and more urgent. By 2050, demand for all of London's airports combined could reach 400 million passengers per year, more than double today's total. Lines will get longer, fares will shoot up, and passengers are likely to pay a lot more for long-haul flights. Yeah, that's not exactly ideal. So, what's the solution to all of this? Well, one option is expanding London's other airports. Both
Yeah.
Gatwick and Stansted sit in less densely populated areas, making expansion potentially.
Yeah, why not do that? Why try to spend $76 billion of taxpayer money just so other people can come into the country? To be honest, I'm not sure what's in London that people are so gassed for besides tea and crumpets or no Eiffel Towers in Paris. Um, I don't know what's in London that people are so pressed about, but maybe it's like a connecting flight.
Easier. Another proposal suggested creating a super hub by connecting Heathrow and Gatwick with high-speed rail, but the plans fell through. There's also an idea to build a completely new airport in less populated areas like Oxfordshire, or maybe give a bigger role to regional airports across the United Kingdom. This would help to share the load somewhat and reduce the cost of travel overall. There's even a do-nothing option, which would use capacity constraints to naturally limit aviation's environmental impact. The most straightforward option is adding a third runway to Heathrow itself. It's a plan that's been hinted at for years. The proposed $22 billion expansion would increase the airport's capacity from 480,000 to 740,000 flights per year, adding 40 new routes and creating up to 77,000 local jobs. But there are a bunch of challenges.
There's DIY.
First of all, it would require demolishing almost 4,000 homes, diverting rivers, and rerouting the M25 motorway through a tunnel. Environmental concerns.
Yeah, the man them will not like that. Man, could imagine you want to man them things. You want to man them things. You know what I'm saying? You want to man them down in London, and you're trying to get to your job, and all of a sudden the road's gone. You already know you're gonna be late. Like every day, you're 2 minutes late. A cool 2 minutes. Your manager isn't that fussy, but now you're gonna be 20 minutes late, and now he's gonna be on your face like, "Oi, mate, why are you late? Why?"
Are also pretty big here. Heathrow is already the UK's largest source of carbon emissions. While the project received government approval in 2018, legal battles and the pandemic have delayed progress, and as of 2025, construction hasn't even begun yet. But none of these solutions captured the public's imagination quite like the plan to build a completely new airport in the Thames. And before we take a look at this insane new airport concept,
she's Nigerian.
I quickly want to thank our long-term partner, CyberGhost VPN. You can definitely recommend it, and by signing up using our link in the description in this video. And now, back to the Thames Airport. The Thames Estuary Airport proposal, officially named London Britannia Airport, would be one of the most ambitious infrastructure projects in British history. It calls for a massive 6-runway hub built partially in the Thames estuary, capable of handling 150 million passengers every year. And if you're keeping score, that's nearly double Heathrow's current capacity. The project earned the nickname Boris Island because then London Mayor Boris Johnson was such a huge fan.
I'm already not liking this because if we look at it,
it's nearly double Heathrow's current capacity. The project earned the...
They're building on water, and they're talking about planes. I'm not sure why I'm such a Debbie Downer when it comes to flight. I've never experienced turbulence in my life. I don't like taking flights. You feel what I'm saying? But if it's on top of water, yeah, I'm already assuming sharks. Like, there's gonna be one flight that happened at the wrong time, and then just the ground just collapses, and now we ain't actually need to use the emergency whatchamacallit slide things. Yeah, nope, thank you.
The nickname Boris Island, because then London Mayor Boris Johnson was such a huge fan.
Yeah,
He
I don't
brought
trust
together
him.
architects, marine experts, environmental specialists, and aviation professionals to develop the $76 billion proposal.
Another question. How are you supposed to build on top of water? I know. Wait. Yeah, how are you supposed to build on top of water? Do you. If the water is shallow enough, I guess. But how do you. How do you build on top? Oh, no.
At the time, a lot of people considered it a fantasy, but some saw it as a modern vision for British aviation, the main obstacle being finding the money to fund it all. Boris was optimistic that international investment, possibly from China, would help to fund the project. So, what would this Thames airport look like? It would be constructed on the edge of the Isle of Grain, the easternmost point of the Hoo Peninsula in Kent. The design focused on avoiding many of the problems that traditional land-based airports have to deal with. For example, there would be no need for aircraft to fly over densely populated areas of London, which is one of the biggest complaints about Heathrow. Instead, takeoff and landing.
I mean, is it really that bothers? Again, I'm talking about it from a person who has only seen like maybe the little helicopter, then maybe the occasional plane fly over where I live at. But is it really that big of a problem in a crowded city? Just airplanes flying around? Is that like your biggest concern when it comes to noise? I mean, the airport in my that's closest to me isn't. I can see it.
Would all be over water. It would also be a car-free airport, with all access provided through high-speed rail tunnels. There would be multiple passenger terminals spread across London's train
No, your car's
stations.
gonna get jacked.
So instead of checking in at the airport itself, all that could actually be handled at new purpose-built points in the stations. There
Oh,
would be one at Ebbsfleet International train station next to the high-speed rail link, and another at St.
okay. Question: what if you miss um the train, right, for your flight? Okay, first question: are the trains going by flight, or you just get on a train, find your flight, and go? And then two, if not, if if I'm late for my train because of airport security, do I get do I get my new ticket at the train station or at the airport? Is another question. If I'm late because of the train, does the airplane still take off? Or they're gonna be like, oh, passengers for flight 245, if you're on this train, don't worry, your plane's not going anywhere. Are bad? Mm, mm.
Pancras International train station in central London. They even suggested building one at the Royal Docks in East London. Logistics operations would be based at Sheerness, with an upgraded A249 providing the new M2 connection. The runway configuration would allow 3 or 4 planes to operate simultaneously, 24 hours a day, something that's not possible at Heathrow due to noise restrictions over London. The concept of an estuary airport isn't new. It was first pitched way back in the 1970s. Over the decades, a bunch of different plans were proposed,
Whoa, what's
from
that
floating
place?
platforms to artificial islands. But it wasn't until architect Sir Norman Foster, the guy behind the new Wembley Stadium, unveiled his detailed vision that
Why is he a sir? Was he a knight? Like, maybe I watch too much TV, but just calling this random old man who didn't use a sword at all, never wore a piece of armor in his life, can't cut through 100 men with his sword. If you know, you know. Is kind of anticlimactic. Anticlimactic.
The idea really took off.
There is no reason why
There's
this
no
cannot be
reason why
done
it
now,
can't be done.
and present generations can
Present
have the benefit
generations.
of it, but it is a
Present-
true investment for the future.
His
True investment for the
consortium,
future.
Thames Estuary Research and Development, or TESTRAD, believed that they could build it in just 7 years. The project would be pretty similar to Japan's Kansai International Airport, but with some unique British challenges. While Kansai proved that you could build an airport on an artificial island, the Thames project would need to deal with stronger tides, busier shipping lanes, and of course, that pesky unexploded warship. Yeah, we'll get to
blow
that one
that
in.
up, bro.
According to TESTRAD, the $76 billion investment could even be recouped through the redevelopment of Heathrow's current site. Yeah, they actually envisioned completely replacing Heathrow Airport. They wanted to turn the old area into a new London borough with 300,000 houses. The Thames Airport would also be pretty huge for Britain's position in global trade. London
All right, if they try to take down that airport to build a new one, do they? Maybe I'm dumb, but from what I understood, would they tear down that airport at the same time while they're building the other one, or are they gonna wait till the other one's done and then tear that one down? It's like then our flights to London gonna be like blocked or something? Now I would assume they're gonna build the other one first and then tear down the old one.
is perfectly positioned. 94% of global GDP is produced within a 13-hour flight of the city. While
Right.
Heathrow is currently Europe's busiest hub, airports in Paris, Amsterdam, and Frankfurt are expanding fast. Without more capacity, London risks losing its crown. If the new airport got anywhere close to 150 million passengers, it would be far more than its European rivals. Okay, sounds great. So, what's the problem?
Right down.
Well, building an airport in the Thames seems like a perfect solution, but the reality was far messier. The Airports Commission warned that the project would face huge risks, with costs likely rising well past that $76 billion estimate. For starters, it would require building a new Thames flood barrier to protect the facility. Then, you'd have to create connecting infrastructure and solve some unusual problems. Perhaps the most dramatic of these is the SS Richard Montgomery, that sunken warship that we mentioned, which lies near the proposed site and has over 10,000 unexploded bombs.
All right. What is stopping us from just blowing it up? How bad could it be for real? Oh, it looks pretty far from the coast. Let's just blow it up. That's what I would do.
Bombs on board. For over 70 years, everyone's been happy to just leave this warship and its dangerous cargo alone.
Blow
You
it
can see
up.
why. Trying to move 1,400 tons of old explosives isn't exactly a job anyone's
That's
rushing
old.
to take on. But you can't build an airport around it either. The wreck would need to be dealt with one way or another. And that's just the engineering challenges. The environmental concerns were just as daunting. As you can imagine, a river like the Thames attracts thousands of birds. And yeah, birds and planes don't mix all that well. A single collision can destroy an aircraft engine. While the plans included creating new nature reserves away from the airport, there's no way to guarantee that the birds
I ain't gonna lie, in big 2025, we can't make an airplane engine that can turn a bird into sliced meat. All right.
would actually use them. Moving entire ecosystems is tricky enough, but keeping them away use them. Moving
You're telling me a big old plane couldn't chop this up into like something you find at Chipotle? All right, whatever you need to tell yourself. I think that's cap. But what do I know?
entire ecosystems is tricky enough, but keeping them away from flight paths would be an even bigger challenge. You can't just politely ask thousands of birds to take a different route to work. Weather was another major issue. The Met Office said that the area would see 3 times as much fog as Heathrow throughout the year, reducing the airport's capacity for aircraft.
Oh yeah, no thank you.
And the location posed other risks as well.
No.
For starters, the airspace was already pretty crowded with existing flight paths, and the nearby Isle of Grain is home to one of the largest liquefied natural gas terminals in the world. Huge containers of highly flammable gas right next to a new airport? No wonder the
Why are there so many explosions near this place? What do you mean there's an old ship with 10,000 bombs on it, and then there's a place filled with natural gases that with one little shake could turn people into superpowers and fry them alive? Alright. Okay.
head of National Air Traffic Services called it the very worst spot you could put it. And while the new airport might reduce noise pollution over London, it would create a different kind of problem. Remember how they proposed just casually replacing Heathrow? Well, over the years, countless businesses have set up shop around the airport. A lot of them are international companies using Heathrow as their European base. Building the main London airport in the Thames estuary instead of expanding Heathrow means that businesses would face a tough choice. Relocate to the new site, stay put with reduced international connections, or move their operations to other European airport hubs altogether. When you add up all of these challenges, the explosive-laden shipwreck, the fog, the birds, the crowded airspace, and the massive business disruption, it's easy to understand why Boris Island faced such an uphill battle.
Yeah, no, really, Sherlock.
So, you might be wondering, what's the answer for London's airports? Ultimately, the floating airport in the Thames never made it off the drawing board. Now attention has shifted back to Heathrow's third runway proposal. The airport is still straining at the seams. In fact, last year was the busiest of all time, with 84 million passengers. Heathrow's chief executive is pushing for a final decision on the third runway by the end of 2025. The expansion has had its own share of controversy, including Boris Johnson declaring that he would lie down in front of the bulldozers to prevent it. But it's looking more and more likely that it's going to happen.
Why do people lie for no reason? I will lie. Mate, I would lie down in front of the bulldozer. And you're the prime minister. All right, buddy.
So, what do you think about the Thames Estuary Airport? Would you prefer to see an ambitious new project like Boris?
No, it's gonna blow. No, there are too many explosives around it for it to be an okay idea to do it. You can blow up the ship and just let all those bombs fly out like, it'd be fire. You chuck a whole bunch of fireworks onto that thing. You launch fire at it and just let it blow up. But with the natural gas placed beside it, yeah, it's gonna look like Shibuya after the incident. But anyway, that will be the end of this video. If you made it this far, and let me know what you think.